part of God if God is all there is, right? If God is all there is, and you've always existed, even if it was just as a thought of God, that means your origin is beyond this planet. True or false? All right, so that means by definition, you yourself are extraterrestrial. You understand? So we got to shave the spook off of what cinema tells us extraterrestrial is, or what angelic beings are. You understand? Yeah. You understand? So as far as that, does that answer your question though? All right. You got any more?
Not right now.
All right.
All right, this person was it, Sweet Daddy. We want to know, can you explain who created white people for protection? And was this the ones from the albino blacks through canon, or was it the Flukerals or the Dravidian?
Say that one more time.
He wants to know, can you explain who created the white people for protection? And was this the ones from albino blacks through canon, or was this the Flukeral or the Dravidian?
That's interesting. Why do I say it's interesting? Is because paying attention to where we are right now in the doctrine, you could really begin to answer your own question by changing the word in your question from or to and, literally. Because what we begin to see as we're getting more information is that you start having all these beings start mixing in with each other, right?
At some
So,
point.
but originally, like we were talking about the Anunnaki with Ninhursag and Enki, when they were trying to build beings, they were building beings first so that they'd be able to have them be the Lulu Amilu, or the big sheep, to work for them. Obviously, being that you're familiar with the doctrine from the Sumerian aspect of it. When they were creating, they were coming to this planet mining for gold, right? And with them mining for gold, and this, of course, you would go and refer to the holy tablets, and I don't have the reference at this moment. When I come back, I can have the reference. Okay, so that way you'll be able to put the reference on them. I have it. All right, but what they were doing was they were creating and breeding and grafting beings so that those beings would be able to do work for them. They had to have a certain level of intelligence, right? So that came the need for them to mix it with Simian. So that, having the opposable thumbs, knowing how to use tools and all of this. So they had to get that grafting because your intelligence is inside of your DNA. You know what I'm saying? So just like any other breeder of any other type of animal, like dogs, when they're breeding, they breed also for intelligence. So these scientists were doing the same thing. They were saying, first it was like, okay, they had their own coming here doing the work. But then it was like, man, this is some heavy labor right here. We got to make somebody to do the work for us. You follow? So when they were doing that, they started grafting beings. They started sending them down into these mines. At first, they made them where they had enough ability to work with tools down there. But what was happening is the conditions down there was making them sick. So they had to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, we have to be able to figure out how we're going to be able to have these beings live and not die from getting sick in these atmospheres, because they already got that albino gene. They're already weak genetically, right? So they say, okay, so how can we make a group that can actually survive these germs and everything in this area? That's when they added the porcine gene, because when you start talking about that, the pig, it itself is a hybrid being, graftation. So you're dealing with a being that has the ability to eat all kinds of slop and not get sick. So when they added that to their genetics, that made it possible for them to work and live longer in those conditions, right?
Okay.
After that, just like you have the condition of Enlil and Enki having beefs amongst themselves, they had followers themselves as well. And what ended up happening is they ended up getting to a point of where they were literally beefing with each other. And it became, the competition became, who's right? I'm the strongest, I'm the greatest. That's why when you start going into the Bible and it says these things like, I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, and everything else like that, as the master teacher explained to us, he said what that was Enlil saying to them, because Enlil is also your El Shaddai, or El. And then Enki was your Jah. So like when you have those different prophets that have a name that ends in Yah, like Elijah, but then you have another prophet who has a name that ends in El, like Daniel, right? What you're dealing with is those who represent the two different factions, Enlil's side and Enki's side. So what ends up happening is they end up going to war against each other. So they needed aggression as well. And then that brought about that canine, the necessity to interbreed them with the canine, or that wolf gene. And that brought about that wolf-like behavior, that blood meat eating behavior. So just like anybody else who gets a guard dog to protect their business, you end up having that same thing happen amongst each other. Now, the biggest problems came in with those different beings started to intermix with each other. So what ended up happening is you end up having a plethora of sub-races out of those gravitations. A lot of hybrids out of hybrids. You follow? And then that ultimately goes into how you end up having that 6 kingdoms, like the brother said earlier, talking about the Celtics, talking about Celtics with a C, Celtics with a K, and Celtics with an S, breaking that whole thing down. So they are creating protection or warriors themselves amongst each other. So all of that becomes a part of where we are right now. And there is a class that hasn't been printed as of yet. Well, it was an update. You had to go back and find this update that had our Mercer Tatui, Satak, and his wife Natatat. They were teaching on this, and it begins talking about the Natharu/Anunnaki. And it goes further into that then, so that you'll be able to understand the confusion that we're beginning to have as we step out of the Sumerian doctrine. And like I said, go back into my brother the extraterrestrial, get into the actual fact number 22, get into Patrak, Sarabu, Karabu, and Sex Force, Spirit Force. And that starts to bring a lot of these pieces together so that we can be here in the updated here and now, hereafter.
Sure, okay.
Does that satisfy?
Yeah.
Hopefully it satisfies.
Fair question.
That question.
Okay,
After this one, I'm gonna transfer it over to my good
this
brother.
is from a sister named Shauna. She wants to know, is Wu-nuwaup and Nuwaupu the same thing? Could you please explain the term?
Okay, awesome. Give me 1 second so I can go to this reference point. We have an actual fact called Wu-nuwaupu. I don't know if the person that's asking the question is unfamiliar, right? But when we say Wu-nuwaupu, before we might have said, Nuwaup or Nuwaupu, but having a further understanding of the language as we have now, whenever we put that U or that U on the end of a phrase, that's pluralizing it, much like when we would say Elo to Elohim, pluralizes in the Hebrew to make it be one being, and then when you add that Yod and Meme and it becomes Elohim, that becomes a plural. When you're dealing with people or you're dealing with beings, and we say Nuwaupu, I myself as an individual am Nuwaup-un, or a Nuwaubian. So Nuwaup would equal Nuwaubian, right? Our way of life, our spiritual science is Wu-nuwaup. You understand? And it's broken off into 3 degrees of Wu-nuwaupu, Naba-nuwaupu, and Asa-nuwaupu. When you're talking about Nuwaupu, just by itself, you're dealing with Nuwaup being one Nuwaubian, Nuwaupu being Nuwaubians. So when you say Nuwaupu, that's Nuwaubians. When you say Wu-nuwaup, that's our spiritual science, that's our culture, that's our way. So I would tell you to refer to the actual fact called Wu-nuwaupu. It's actually papyrus number 6. And then you have further explanation in there. Okay?
All right, Tua. Okay, she also asked, She says, living life following the code. What if all parties are living using the code they think is right? How then do we co-create using what we think we know if everyone thinks they are right?
Can I ask you to read that one more time for me? I think I got it.
She says, living life following the code. What if all parties are living using the code they think is right? How then do we co-create using what we think we know if everyone thinks they are right?
Okay. When you said co-create, I think that you may mean coexist. So when I say coexist, if that's wrong, then please, make sure that you ask the question again so we can get that square. But I think she's saying, how can we coexist with all these different people who think they're right? Is that what it's saying?
No, she says co-create.
I see co-create. I see that, but can we
You can
co-create? What are you talking about? You
co-create
talking about mixing with other beings, mixing with other races?
Well, she could mean procreate. I don't know.
Say that one more time then for me, please.
Okay. Said, living life following the code. What if all parties are living using the code they think is right? How then do we co-create using what we think we know if everyone thinks they're right?
Okay, let me refer you to a Patarak. There's a Patarak called The Argument. Okay? I'm going to read a little bit of it. Starting from verse 1. All right? Verse 1 says, Likum, my beloved jewels of my eyes, Nuwaupu, Nuwaubians, back to the first question. I ask you, is it right to argue with those who don't know? Is it right to debate with those who don't know? Is it right to converse with those who don't know what they claim they know? What is wrong with most in this day and time? What is the reason so many argue about what they don't know? And why don't they know? How can they argue over what they don't know? So what is the great argument all about? It's an argument about misinformation. It's an argument about mistranslation. It's an argument about misguidance. It's an argument about who is right and who is wrong. So is this argument right or wrong? Nuwaubians, we will start with this point. Why do they argue? Who is arguing? Religious people are arguing between each other over who is right. What is right? Right is exact. Right is fact. Right is truth. Right is confirmation. Can one be right about what they don't know for a fact? I say that question again, verse 22. Can one be right about what they don't know for a fact? Then verse 23 continues. Can one be right about what is wrong? What is wrong? Wrong is not exact. Wrong is not fact. Wrong is not truth. Wrong is not confirmation. Can one be wrong about what they don't know to be fact? Can one be wrong about what is right? My beloved Karadu, children of Wu-nuwaup, how is this that so many are wrong about what is right? And how is it among religious people they are arguing about the same things and all be wrong and all be right? Palisan, the tongue, the vocal box, Pasawat, the voice, Padanan, the mind, the larynx, Padabar, the speech, Palagag, the language, which is shaped into sound, which is shaped into words, which is shaped into conversation, verses and sentences, combination of sounds to form words, to form verses, to form conversations, to form a tongue, to form a language. I'll stop right there, right? Further, reading this particular Patarak, the argument, gets into saying, okay, these people are arguing over things that they have no confirmation of. Some people want to argue just for the sake of arguing, without actually wanting to make sure that they know what they're even talking about. When we're dealing in Wu-nuwaup, we're dealing with the facts of who and what we are. Many times when we find out who and what we are, we've had to go through schools to learn who and what we are not. There's an actual fact called who you are, not what you accept. Through time, we've gone through and become different things that we accepted. That's why going into religion, you had to accept the religion, and then you had to bear witness or take a shahada. If you were a Christian, you had to get baptized, have a baptism. So you had to accept that you were something different than what you were born as. So you had to step outside of who you actually are in nature and go and accept something else. In doing that, most of us never had the opportunity mentally to say, is what I'm accepting totally, confirmably true fact? Is it right? Or better yet, is it right for me? Is this what my people operated on? Who's behind this religion? Whose face is on this religion? You understand? When we start dealing with these things, where it's talking about, if it's dealing with the Muslims, where it's talking about this pale Arab religion, if it's dealing with this European Christianity or this European Hebrewism, if it's dealing in any of those Abrahamic schools, then being that you as an African being, if you want to use the term African, predate religion, then by your own nature, because your ancestors operated in a different way, just by those facts, you know that can't be yours. That's not your birthright. That's something that people came into invading and trying to tell you that they are the superior power over yourself. So when we go into the Holy Tablets and it explains to us, once we accept in a religious, spiritual system that goes beyond ourselves or outside of ourselves, outside of our race, with their face on it, we are subconsciously at the same time accepting that person's race or those beings' race as a superior power. And we are downplaying ourselves at that point. So that being a fact shows you why under all of these other schools of religion that we've subjected ourselves to, we never got any real liberation for ourselves. And that's a fact. So if people want to say, okay, I'm a Muslim, this is what I'm supposed to be, or like your Hebrew Israelites say, well, everybody's a Hebrew and all of this other stuff, and you know, it's really all about Jesus, you shouldn't have a problem when we ask all these questions. And better yet, we shouldn't be able to prove any of the stuff that you're talking about wrong. You follow? So that's it. There really is no argument when the people that's coming to talk to you about these things have no understanding of the thing that they've accepted themselves. And that's what our master teachers come to give us, being that Wu-nuwaup is the science of science and the science in science, and it predates dates and time. We operate by right knowledge, that which is correct information, right wisdom, and right understanding, on into sound right reasoning. So all this that we do reasons out. And with that, I'm going to pass the class over to my good brother, Atum Hutep Imre Atum Reye.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
The question is, will the dead people come out of the ground that's been dead for hundreds of years, and when they come out, will they eat on everybody, or is it certain people that they'll go after? That's the question.
That does sound like a episode of Walking Dead. But the master teacher did say in one of the updates not too long ago, he said the vibration of the planet Earth was going to be so strong back then, right, that the dead would not stay dead. Because you got to understand when you're dealing with quantum physics, for lack of a better word, because we're using English, you hear me? The science of dealing with the spirituality, for lack of a better word. No matter if you use science term or religious term, we had a term for it, which is Wu-nuwaup. You know what I'm saying? Where we broke down all the spiritual sciences, you hear me? Everything, this is why the Pataraks, like the birth, earth, and the matrix, the prism, dimensional shift, Atlantis, and the ghosts, those particular books, in a book called Science of Healing, goes into the spiritual quantum physics aspects, how people try to say spiritual and quantum physics is actually the same, but people don't understand the higher mysteries when they deal with spirituality because they don't know what spirit is. That's why our master teacher book out a book called What is Soul and Spirit, so you can have a better understanding of it. And once you study that book, you'll understand that spirit ain't what you were taught in the church. It's dealing with vibration, tones, and frequencies. You feel me? That deals with quantum mechanics or quantum entanglement, physics. You know what I'm saying? So what happened is that when things vibrate, you're not really dead. You just cease to be in this physical form. But what happened is that because everything vibrates on different frequencies, you feel me? Whether you're alive, dead, you're still vibrating. You cannot destroy energy because everything is in pa-pa'ut. Pa-put, which is the all. You can't take from the all, you can't add to the all. It might not cease to exist in you in the way you perceived it, but it exists as bacteria or other life forms. You feel me? So what happened is our master teacher is the vibration will be so strong that you will not be able to die. Now watch this. Who watches World Star Hip Hop sometimes? Or on Facebook when they be showing you people getting shot and ran over and stuff like that, right? 30 years ago, one bullet would take you out. Just in the kidney or whatever, right? Some people didn't really survive gunshot wounds or machete cuttings, right? The way people are being murdered right now, it's like they're not, you really gotta dismember them. You know, if you watch online how the cartel is just chopping people up, people are still alive, but they have to really take off their head and everything. People getting shot. It was a mob, I think it was in London, where the guys, whole gang of guys came out with machetes and was chopping the dude up. After they were finished with him, they would say they were so tired of chopping this guy up. I mean, no parts fell off of him. They were like, okay, we done. Ain't no way he's alive, but he was still alive. It's like, it's harder for people to die nowadays. You feel me? So the vibration is there, but it's not increasing yet. This is with the Heart Project and the different things going on, the times of where things are changing to different cycles. We're in the sun cycle. This is why in the book called The Perception Change, it breaks down how the energy from Anun will relocate from Saudi Arabia or the Middle East and onto Africa. This is why when you look at that things now, things are actually open the door up for more and more. Who would thought that an African dark as Lupita Nyong'o would actually win an Oscar at the Vivica Fox? Just, you know, who was Vivica Fox? Jada Pinkett, Gabrielle Union, and all these so-called great actresses, right, of Hollywood, Angela Black, you know, all of them worked hard, even took perms and lighten their skin just to look appealing so they can get these movie roles. And then next you know, this dark-skinned chick with natural hair gets an Oscar. It hurt them. Now you're watching Facebook and you're seeing all these actresses putting on, well, I'm taking my weave out and I wear my natural hair. Yeah, you got your natural hair, but it's still in a straight state. You know what I mean? So they're hurt because like we work hard for you. We sacrificed, we sold our soul. And you gave it to this dark-skinned nigga. That's not even, you hear me? That hurted them. That had to be like a gut punch for them. You hear me? But anyway, that will answer your question right there, you know, the vibrations. So, you know, people will, I mean, listen, before we go into, you're already seeing phase 1 of The Walking Dead. You hear me? They're called schizophrenia, or people that's out of their minds. Because what happened is that this movie called, I think it was by George Ramirez, called The Crazies, right? The newest version. It's actually the most realistic zombie movie that ever came out. Because it actually show you how you become a zombie. Not the way you watch it Walking Dead. As soon as you get shot, you walk up. They show you how you lose your mind first before you become ravenous and start eating people. You feel me? You ever seen the movie called The Crazies? You remember how they was acting crazy? The guy walked in the field with a shotgun and the sheriff told him to stop and he shot him? The guy went crazy first before he became a zombie. But just see in stage 1 right now, when you see go down 5 points and low 5 points in the Atlanta area with the population at, and you see people walking on the street out of their minds, crazy, like what is wrong with them? You feel me? This person was straight a couple years ago. Now this guy's walking down the street, talking to themselves, acting crazy, violent. And you notice that when crazy people come together, yeah. Yeah. And what happened is a lot of people are walking down the street. You don't see the crazy hanging on each other. They're latching on the people the same. Because they want to eat your brain. And I say literally eat your brain. They always want to, because they see that you're normal to them. You know what I mean? And they latch onto people that still have their sanity. Yeah, go ahead, my brother.
Could you answer who is God or gods or goddesses or goddess?
What is God to you? What is your concept of God? I mean, think about it. Are you a Christian, Muslim, Jew?
No.
What's your religious background?
I mean, I used to go to church a lot, but I don't go to church.
See, in Wu-nuwaup, we don't try to destroy the God concept. We explain it.
But could you explain?
Because the God concept is no different than Michael Jordan being a god of basketball, or Tiger Woods being a god of golf. Or I was thinking Tyson DeGrasse, Neil Tyson DeGrasse, as the god of astrophysics. You know, so we excel in every field. You know what I mean? It's just that when people from different cultures come into your culture and they're like thousands of years behind, they say these guys must be gods because they're performing stuff that I even thought could happen. Let me give you an example. In the book of Exodus, right? Moses was told by God to go to Pharaoh and tell him to let my people go, right? And when Moses got there, God hardened his heart and told him to say no. So they went back and forth. So Moses said, I'm gonna show you the power of God, right? I'm gonna take this piece of wood, right? No life in it. I'm gonna cast it down to the ground. And what did it happen to it? Now here's the question, what type of snake was it? Was it a boa constrictor, a python, cobra? Huh? Okay, it was a cobra, that means it had venom in it, right? Did it think?
Yeah.
Did it have a brain?
Think so?
Did it have blood?
Yes.
Have muscles? Scales? You see what I'm going at, right?
Yeah.
What I'm saying now?
I mean, it was alive, right?
Exactly. So that's called a what? A miracle, right? Now watch this. Pharaoh saw that and said, okay. His magicians, AKA sorcerers, came up with some type of magical incantation, right? And turned that piece of wood into a snake, right? What happened next? Anybody can answer that question?
Moses' snake ate the Pharaoh's snake.
Now, people said that was a miracle. But nobody asked the question, what type of magic was they using? I still understand that Moses' snake ate a snake because he had a more powerful snake. He ate two of their snakes, right? But here's the question. What type of magic are you using to turn wood into a living organism? You hear me? Is it David Copperfield magic? Is it Chris Angel magic? Is it David Blaine magic? Is it Satan or Anton LaVoe magic? You hear me? Is it white magic, black magic, red magic? What type of, I don't care what type of magic is it? Explain to me what type of incantation that you can use that you could turn a piece of wood into a living organism. Nobody asks that question. This is what Wu-nuwaup does. It questions stuff that don't make sense. You hear me? So here's the God question. What type of God was he? Was he a merciful God? An all-loving God? Because an all-loving God wouldn't create fire to burn you forever. You ever been burned before? Have you ever been burned? Imagine you getting burned forever in a lake of fire that's powered by no gasoline, no wood. It just burns with nothing to burn it. You hear me? But you shall be burned. How do you get burned forever without being turned to a crisp? You hear me? What, did God regenerate you and you get burned again? Come on, dude. That's worse than waterboarding. Yeah, I'm like, yo, listen, man, God, I'm gonna just take the waterboard test because I'm not trying to get burned forever. Just put a towel over my face and just you can drop a swimming pool on me. You know what I mean? Because I think me being drowned is a much easier feeling than being burned forever all over your body. I'm talking about everything on your body. And some parts of your body you don't want to get burned. But we've been burnt before. You hear me? So the God concept is extraordinary beings that did great things over time. Then someone came along and said, I want to worship you. And they turned them into spooks and apparitions. You hear me? Because people always say, well, if there was no God, then where did you come from? My mother. And where did she come from? Her mother. And where did she come from? Her mother. So who was the first person? Well, we'll have to go back to the oldest records. When man decided to record stuff, right? And when we go back to, we know that there was somebody before them because somebody wrote that, you hear me? And it gave birth to because the person that wrote the records, right, had a mother and father. And they're not recorded. And it goes back further than that by carbon dating and you know, archaeological find with the more sophisticated instruments to date time, you hear me? But the Christian said, well, that's not, it's inaccurate. Well, prove that to me then. Is this accurate? Because it's been translated thousands of times. It's not even written in the original language. You don't even have the original translation. You said it was burnt. So how can you say that science is inaccurate, right? It might be off about a couple thousand years out of a million, you hear me? Which predates 6,000 years ago, you hear me? That your omnipresent God said, who told you were naked? But he's all-knowing. Do not worship any other God, for I am a jealous God. He got issues. You know what I'm saying? Offer up this animal for sacrifice so I can smell his teeth saber because he's hungry. You hear me? So you see the God concepts that you're getting reading this book seems like a human being to me that got issue problems, you hear me? Because an all-loving God wouldn't have to get angry at you worshiping other gods that he created. You feel me? So we're under these person, places, and things of these monolithic religions, and then I explain this stuff to you. So they want you to have beliefs, meaning that you want to accept things without knowing. That's what belief means. But once you start asking questions about, well, who did that? They said, you can't question God. No, I'm not questioning God. I'm questioning you, Negro, you white man, you Indian, and so on, right? Because you said you talk to God personally. So what language is God talking? Well, he talks in a mystery language. You don't remember it? You remember a Jay-Z song, what rapper was, and who, you don't even have to hear the person name on the song. You know that's Rich Homie Quan or that's Lil Wayne, you feel me? Or Drake. But all of a sudden, when you hear God's voice, you can't tell me whether he had a deep voice, a high-pitched voice, or you sound like Michael Jackson voice, you feel me? Or Mike Tyson voice, you hear me? Or Barry White voice, you hear me? But you said it was mystical. I would remember my creator's voice and I hear it, you hear me? Or see his form, remember what he was wearing. People go under these mythological trips because if you notice that prior to television, nobody actually was describing how God looked until they start seeing the Ten Commandments, the last temptation of Christ, the passion of Christ, the greatest story ever told, or the Michelangelo statues, you know, like my brother said, you know what I'm saying? So the God concept was something that was created to have you worship something that was not there. Because at the end of the day, right, who's responsible for you? So why do they say that the devil is responsible for the bad things you do and God is responsible for the good things you do when you have the choice to do what you want to do, right? Who wakes you up in the morning? But why do Christians say God wake you in the morning? So what about people that got narcolepsy? What's the word? Narcolepsy, you hear me? Where they oversleep. Or how about people who's in comas for years? Who wakes them up? You hear me? Or how about people who get burned forever? Do they get burned again in hell? If they die from being burned in a house? You feel me? So the whole thing is that you've been lied to. Because if you didn't have a Bible, Quran, or a Torah, right, how would you explain creation to me? And how would you know what a God is without these religious books? Because there's no worship of the word God in Egypt. Did you know that? Did y'all know that?
Say it again.
There's no Egyptian word for God in the Egyptian language. Did y'all know that? Huh? There's no Greek word for God in Greek language. Or Hindu. Did you know that? So what happened is the Europeans, the English branch, decided to say, well, we have gods in our language. But when you go to the Greeks, what they call gods, they're called theos. And Egyptians, what they call God is Natharu. And so on. So you're labeling our ancestors and say, well, who's Amun-Ra? Oh, he's my great-great-great-great-grandfather. Is he a deity? To me, he is. Oh, he must be a god. Oh, what is a god? I never heard it before. It's a supreme being. Yeah, well, he is a supreme being, but not your concept of a supreme being. You feel me? He was a supreme amongst beings in his day and time. Who will be the supreme being of basketball all time?
Kobe Bryant.
Kobe ain't better than Jordan. Because Kobe don't know how to do defense like Jordan though. See, Jordan, let me tell you what made Jordan a better player. Not only was he a great scorer, he was also a great defensive player also.
Right.
And he knew how to work around his team.
Magic Johnson.
He was a good assist player, but he wasn't like Jordan. You know that, man. You know good as well. Magic wasn't doing what Jordan was doing. Jordan was a better player because he was able to do other things. If Jordan didn't score, he would play defense, but he couldn't do both simultaneously. He'll stop scoring just to play defense. A lot of basketball players can't do that. They try to make LeBron a new Jordan. I said, he doesn't do what Jordan do. He's not even better than Kobe. I think LeBron is actually overrated. But they want to sell sneakers. I understand that.
I like Kobe. I know I like Michael Jordan and LeBron James.
Yeah, but LeBron James is no different than Magic Johnson.
No, LeBron James is different.
According to their team, that'd be the guy of that team. You hear me? I'm the best player on the team, but are you the best player in the league?
No, he a team
But-
player. But
Oh, now he is.
I did say Jordan.
I said, but he was. I mean, look at a lot of those superstars. They wasn't team players at first. Some guys were showboating.
But I said the right one.
Yeah, he's not good. But anyway, like we get back to the point. That will be the supreme being of his field. Just like, you know, certain people will be like Mayweather is the supreme being when it comes to the world of boxing right now. We all know Sugar Ray Robinson, but you know, right now it's Floyd Mayweather. He's undefeated, and he beat everybody. They say he ran from Pacquiao. I wouldn't fight no guy juiced up on drugs. You're a fool. Like fighting the nigga on angel dust.
You got knocked out
Huh?
anyway.
Nigga jump off the building, get up on angel dust and still fighting. You don't want to, you ain't gonna be able to beat that dude. You hear me? Nigga get hit by a train, get up and still walk, on angel dust. It took like 8 cops to stop a nigga on angel dust. Like, what's the new angel dust for the daytime? Molly's?
Yes.
And then next it's gonna be that cracker deal. That flesh eating drug, you hear me? But they saw our people and they decided they started labeling our people according to their culture. So then when you start mentioning our Egyptian ancestors, those are gods, you guys are pagans. No, we don't worship Jordan. We don't worship, well, people do, because they kill niggas for Jordans. You hear me? But we ain't supposed to. But people get caught up into man worship. Yeah, so I need to answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Any other questions?
This is coming from a sister online. Her name is Shauna. Hold on, wait a minute. No, it's from a brother named Greg Smith. He wants to know if one dies, having become a Nuwaubian, and accepting that their ancestors is their link, are they forgiven for all the disagreeable deeds and allowed to pass on to a higher life?
Repeat that one more time.
He says, if one dies having become a Nuwaubian, I mean they became a Nuwaubian,
Yeah.
right? And accepting that their ancestors is their link, are they forgiven of all disagreeable deeds and allowed to pass on to a higher life?
You talking about the Nuwaubian or the person's relatives?
No, the person who, I guess he's
Oh, he becomes a Nuwaubian, then he
became
dies, something
Nuwaubian.
happened to him?
So if he
All right, let me
becomes
explain
Nuwaubian,
this to
dies,
you,
does
dealing
he
with
forgive his
reality.
deeds?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You talk about if a person becomes a Nuwaubian and something happened to him, he died. Listen.
All his disagreeable deeds that he did.
All right, let me explain something to you. First, we got to find out my brother said earlier when he answered about what Nuwaubian is, right? Wu-nuwaup. You know what I'm saying? Or Wu-nuwaup, or Nuwaupu, which is the way you say Nuwaubian in the Nuwaupui language, right? The master teacher said that a Nuwaubian is not by you just saying, it's about your commitment. Reading Pt.2 actual facts, chanting prayers, you know what I'm saying, and speaking in our natural tone, each one teach one, meaning go out and become a fisher of men and feed the flock and go out there and help those how you will help and bring them into Wu-nuwaup where you get better understanding, right? You know what I'm saying? That is what a true Nuwaubian is. What you happen is you have a lot of people who say, I'm Nuwaubian because you read a couple of scrolls. You are a book reader for now. Now, once you want to go to the next level and say, well, I want to become more active in becoming, into Wu-nuwaupu, then this is the means that you do. A lot of people say, well, I've got a couple scrolls in my pocket, I'm Nuwaubian. You know what I'm saying? It's by commitment. Now, we all Nuwaubians that became from the same bloodline, you hear me? But to practice our natural nature and be back in tune with your ancestors, yes, you will be protected if you were a true Nuwaubian and you did the things that your ancestors actually asked of you. That's why this book just came out called The Master's Secret, right? And if I'm not mistaken, it actually explains about, let me see right here, about the 24, right? So the Nuwaubu, golden children of Melanite, were given 24 accomplishments to master within the 24,000 years to be welcomed home as part of the galactical systems of the world from this one universe into the Kala Makwak at Omniverse. This is on page 3, Master Secret, Birth of Earth in the Matrix, right? 1, decipher the 24 genomes. 2, graph and clone. 3, overcome killer viruses and disease. 4, mental or cordless communication of light, sound, and image. 5, space travel. 6, transform HG80 Mercury back to AU79 gold. That's dealing with alchemy. 7, split the atoms. 8, speak, read, write, and record time. 9, organ transplant. 10, genetic manipulation. 11, flight. 12, construction. 13, time travel. 14, discover the 3 suns, solar system, Razak or Mazak. 15, master music, math in relation to light and sound. 16, agriculture. 17, find the gateway or wormhole. 18, uncover the depths of the sea. 19, uncover the inner earth realms. 20, know thy being inside out and outside in. 21, speak in one tone. 22, teleportation. 23, uncover the 120 element. And 24, communication with the spirit were both dead and extraterrestrial. These were to be accomplished before the hourglass of 25 years ran out. A lot of us have already accomplished a lot of these, right? But we still have a way to go. This is why our master teacher was here, was sent here, so you can be able to accomplish this right now. But what happened is we got so caught up in the devil's world that we allowed them to take the master teacher. You feel me? Once we get the master teacher out, we will have to be taken to a place for 1,000 years, which is coming to a day. Would be equivalent to a day where they had to take us and we had to be transformed from mortal to deity. You hear me? Will we be able to master this? For those who have intentions, and sometimes some people might not make it to that time for that transition. You feel me? But the person's transition is within their heart. You hear me? That will save them from being stuck as a disembodied soul and be able to make it to the other side. Because we had a lot of soldiers or warriors that had died before this time has happened. You know what I'm saying? And they made it to the other side because of their intention and their sincerity. You know what I'm saying? And their integrity in their heart, dealing with Wu-nuwaup. You feel me?
Right.
So what happened is, like, one of the problems we had back in the days is that when the master teacher, as my brother was saying earlier, when we came out of different schools, a lot of people said, well, I'm an Ansar. I don't have to be a Nuwaubian. You know what I'm saying? But Ansar means helper. You did a good job back in the 70s and the 80s. So what are you helping with now? Are you still helping people? I don't gotta fuck, we never stop. We just use different words now. You know what I'm saying? But you was the helper and you helped those who needed help. But people feel as though I did enough for what I need to do and they go on with their life. So now you stop helping people and help yourself into the delicacies of the harlot of Leviathan. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if you go to the YouTube video, Pt.2, it's called Death After, and the etheric planes. There's a video that's on YouTube. If you tap that in, this is what you're gonna get it. I'm pretty sure my brother's going to post it up on the next class. When they post this one up, he'll type it up for Death After an etheric plane. It's a video on YouTube for more detail dealing with that.
Okay. He has
So did that answer your question?
Yeah.
I mean, well, I hope that answered his question, but he's online. He'll let us know
he
if
has
he
another
didn't.
question. He said,
Yeah.
what rituals are performed to free our trapped ancestors who died without having Wu-nuwaup?
He said, with freedom,
He said, what rituals are performed to free our trapped ancestors who died without having Wu-nuwaup?
there's no ritual. You are responsible for them.
I was just about to say, I think I remember
Remember the
saying
master
that.
teacher said that you are responsible for all your bloodline.
You are the Messiah for your bloodline.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Because what happened is about their intentions. Now, some people are trapped, and there's nothing you can do about them. Because what happened is the master teacher said that the 24 elders, or the elders, the higher ones, they said they judge you according to your intention. What have you done with your life since you've been here on this planet? Did you live an agreeable life or a disagreeable life? Now, your grandmother might have been a good Christian. She makes it because she was sincere about her doctrine, even though she was in the wrong faith, right? But they judge you by your intentions. You hear me? So if your grandmother was a good Christian, then she'll make it because of her intentions. Now, if a person was in something and they said, well, I'm just going to do what I want to do and do things that go against their body. Everybody knows that when you do certain things, how detrimental it is to your physical being. But some people don't listen. Well, cigarette smoking is bad for you. I don't care. We only get to live once. What's that? You hear me? YOLO, right? YOLO. You hear me? If I die, I die. How many times have you heard this before?
Plenty.
Well, I don't need to put a condom on. If I catch something, it's all good. I just only live once anyway. I got to have fun while I last, right? You know what I'm saying? So these people are going to be trapped because they didn't overcome their desires and they knew better. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to understand that the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, even though these are books that got a lot of fabrication in it, it has a lot of truths in it too also. Because a lot of the spirituality and the laws and commandments that were in these books, right, some of them came from us. And when you read certain things in these books, that it was dealing with common knowledge, not common sense. Where it's like, you'd be a fool to walk in fire. That's common knowledge, not to walk in fire. You can deal with common sense, because some people will go in fire and say, well, I'm a fire worshiper. You feel me? But the whole thing is that, our people get caught up in certain things because they want to do what is comfortable and they feel good about doing it, and they don't care about the repercussions that come with it, like smoking, drinking, too many sexual partners, you feel me? Overeating, you know You feel what I'm saying? Doing stuff to your body that's not natural, and then what happens is when they get older, and then next thing you know it has an effect on them, then you guys want to, can you please send some prayers out to me and bless me and help me and come see me at the hospital while you on the dialysis machine, right? You know.
The devil tried to take me out.
You know what I'm saying? And you want to like, I want to get better. I want to meet Jesus now. After they did all your dirt, right? And then as soon as you get healed, oh, thank you, Jesus. What kind of club? You hear me? You hear me? But you know what I'm saying? But if it is a ritual, we don't know about it, and the master teacher will go more into detail. But as far as I know, I never heard of any ritual for the your past ones. You feel me?
I just remember he said that you are your
Responsible for your own bloodline.
He said it's about the genes. You know, you have to perfect your genes. So if you perfect your genes, your whole gene line, make it something like that.
My brother gave me something to read here. This is out of Feeding the Forces. Deal with the first question, right?
What page is that?
It's on page 6 of Feeding the Forces, verse 39 down to 42, right? Okay, 40. We declare that anyone who rejects him in Wu-nuwaup, the trustworthy way of life, and become high and mighty and would rather have what this temporal world offers, that misery is your destiny. But the infernal region shall be your final destination. We use Pt.2 as Amun-Re declared to anyone who accepts him in truth, the true manifestation of Pir-Rai-A, Amanu-Re-Akata Zeti, who bring forth Rehar Aket, Pa-Mazul, Pa-Amun as Har, and exhibit such devotion through integrity of character and good works as Nuwaubian that he is saved from hell. He has truly found our saving grace, salvation, the ultimate reality. There is not much time left in this cycle. So hell will be not the burning lake of fire, which you were taught. Hell will be stuck in between this dimension and can't do anything about it. Anyone has something that they in the pot? Yeah, though that's the physical aspects. But he's talking about the ones that passed on. So what happened is a lot of people are trapped by their desires and the stuff that had them earthbound. You feel like somebody who said, oh, I can't have enough sex, or I didn't drink enough. Well, you know, they're actually stuck in that purgatory where it keeps recycling over. It's like Groundhog Day. You hear me? You ever see that movie? Where the guy kept dying, he tried to kill himself, but they kept stepping over again. This is what happened to this spine. So they can't get, you ever have a desire for something that was so strong that you actually felt the pain of it because you couldn't get it? This is like triple the times, by thousands of times of a being that's without no physical body, right? This is pure emotions, you hear me? So at least you had a physical body, we can actually do certain things to get rid of it, but this is pure emotions, and you're so caught up in this feeling that you're actually trapped and you can't do nothing about it, and you're going over it. It's a hell for you that you can't get out the way. I remember one of the sayings, it was in like a book called What and Where Hell, the old version, right? It was a little kid, and he was snatching pocketbooks from old women. You know what I'm saying? And he got hit by a car one day and couldn't walk. So what happened is he was sitting in the window all day and watched how all the kids were having fun and jumping the swings, and he said, Dad, I wish I could play, and I could run, and I can go swimming and everything. He was just sitting in the window year after year, just watching them having fun, and he couldn't do nothing because he couldn't walk. So his grandma said, I'm going to the doctors to get the miracle drug to get you to walk again. So when grandma goes there and get the miracle pill, right, and she's walking down the street, and she got the miracle pill inside her pocketbook, right? And the little boy sees his grandma from afar, right? Oh, grandma's coming. So as soon as I take that pill, I'll be able to run and walk again and it'd be fun, right? And as his grandmama's walking towards the house and she's getting closer and closer, he sees a little shadow behind his grandmother, and he looks real close. And he sees a little kid just stoop down behind the alleyway. And he's easing up behind his grandma, running in slow motion. And he realizes that little boy that he's looking at is himself. And he's coming behind his grandmother and snatches the pocketbook. That is a form of purgatory. You feel me? And it plays over and over and over again. And this is what happens to these disembodied souls that get stuck. This is why people who get real depressed or real angry, certain beings will latch onto them and take over their body. And then you doing things that you don't normally do. And then later on, after you calm down and say, I don't even know what came over me. This is how these beings live. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
So that answer the question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wants to know, it says, how does one use their inner being to heal themselves of sickness or man-made diseases?
Yeah, what you say?
He says, how does one use their inner being to heal themselves of sickness or man-made diseases?
Well, we have a book called The Science of Healing, and we had a tape called Inner Being, and we have stuff that's in one of our orders called the Ancient Mystic Order of Melchizedek,
Purity and neatness.
and we have one called the Ancient Egyptian Order, where it goes into different things like that aspect. But if you go seek out a book called The Science of Healing, where it actually breaks down about certain energies that we used to vibrate on, where we actually heal. It was called the green essence or the green light. You know what I'm saying? But one of the things our master teacher said that if you dealt with cause and effect, we wouldn't have to worry about certain things because we don't eat our natural foods anyway. The reason why 9 out of 10 a lot of people could get sick and want to look for these spiritual healings or what they call it, holistic healings and stuff like that, because they didn't really take care of their body in the first place. People just say, oh, I'm gonna eat what I want to eat. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to put them down, but sometimes you need to deal with the cause before the effect happens. But if you check out that book called Science of Healing, it goes into detail about that. Part 33. And he was reading this, and also check out a book called Our Tones, We Love A, right? The reason for chanting is for you to be or get back on the right notes with Tabat El, Taba, natural nature, and also become a clean you inside and out, outside and in, from who you exchange fluids with in their past, in their 4 generation relatives. That's it? Yeah. Yeah. All right. And with that, I'd like to thank y'all for coming out to class. Come back and check us out next week. We're here, same Nuwaubian time, same Nuwaubian channel. Wadao.
Without